Chairperson.
Good morning, honorable members.
Good morning, Honorable Chair.
I'm fine. Can we
Morning,
start?
Chairperson.
Morning, King.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, Chair.
Morning, honorable members. Morning, King. Can you assist us? How many members do we have? Comrade King.
Good morning, Chair.
Yes, morning. Honorable members,
Come again, Chair.
I'm saying I am requesting honorable members to switch off their gadgets. There is a lot of noise, but it's quiet now. I'm saying, how many members do we have?
Chairperson, thank you very much. So far, I'm having you, the first one. I'm having Honorable Mieni. I'm having Honorable Jacobs. I'm having Honorable Hendricks, Honorable Kruger, and Honorable Lubengo.
Thank you, which means we are forming a quorum. We can now start with our meeting.
Sorry, Chair. King didn't acknowledge me. I'm in the meeting.
Oh, Honorable April is also in the meeting. Thank you for that.
My apologies. Didn't I say Honorable April Hain? Apologies for that.
Honorable members, good morning. I believe you are all fine. It's cold today here in Mpumalanga. I don't know in other provinces, but I can see you are blinking, Honorable April. You look good. Can see Honorable Jacobs. Looks good. Can see Honorable Mieni. The one I cannot see is Honorable Lubengo. Where are you, baby? I can't see you. I can see the CEO, but I can't see her properly. Yes, I can now see you. Honorable members, officials, we have got agenda before us. Can you hear me clearly? Honorable members, can you be able to hear me? King? Hello?
Yes, Chair.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Chair, I can hear you.
Okay. I want now to start with our meeting. We have got the agenda before us, all of us. The first item is opening and welcome and the purpose of the meeting. The second item is apologies and roll call. The third item is adoption of the agenda. The fourth item will be the adoption of the previous minutes of our meeting. And then the fifth item will be briefing by Seda on its 2020 to 2025 strategic plan and the annual performance plan of 2021. And then the next item will be discussion and resolutions. And then lastly will be closing remarks and closure. Honorable members, you are warmly welcome into this meeting. I'm inviting, as usual, your concrete ideas and your wisdom to build this country during this difficult period. I really appreciate your efforts all the time. You are making my life easy because I can see during your participation that members are committed you will pardon me. I'm not well, but I will try my best. The purpose of the meeting, honorable members, is for us to receive briefing from Seda. Can I invite King to give us apologies? Sorry. I think I will change.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, firstly, I received an apology of Honorable Lam. And then I also received an apology from the office of DM saying the DM is not feeling well. Apology from the support staff, it is from Miss Nwabisa. She requested that she be excused at 10 because she has to go and fetch the child from school. So those are the apologies that I've received so far, Chairperson. And then just for housekeeping, Chairperson, I would like to inform members that we are on live TV channel. And so members can always keep their camera on. However, their microphone must be switched off. So those are the apologies, Chair, that I have for so far. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, are you alive?
Chairperson, can I hand it over to you?
Yes. Honorable members.
We accept the apologies and we accept the agenda, Chairperson.
Thank you. Now I will request that we look at our previous meeting minutes, which the meeting was held on the 29th of May 2020. The first page shows the attendance of honorable or the attendance of members who attended that particular meeting and those who apologized. I don't want to offend anyone. Can we check page 1 and agree with it? If
Chairperson? Chairperson?
Yes, I can hear you, King.
It's me. I would request that we skip over that item for consideration of minutes because they were not circulated to all members.
Okay.
So my apology, I request that we skip over the consideration of the previous minutes and then go straight to the presentation because it was not circulated to all members. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe honorable members have accepted that apology. Thanks, King, for that. Thanks for respecting our honorable members. Then we will zoom straight to item 4, which is briefing by Seda on its 2020 to 2025 strategic plan and its 2020 to 2021 annual performance plan. I don't know who's representing the department, but I have seen the I will hand over to her because the DM has apologized. Over to you, Sister Ndokos.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, can I come through?
Yes, you are highly invited. And I can also see Dr. Dovo. Before you start, before you present Ntokozo, can I check with Dr. Ndlovu whether this has been an agreement? Because I don't want to offend the department. Dr. Ndlovu, who's ready? Is it Dr. Ndlovu or is it Ntokozo? I need there is a lot of
Chairperson, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. No, thank you, Chairperson. Sis Majola will do the presentation, but I wanted to just introduce her because I think she's coming for the first time to this portfolio committee, and then maybe just to tell the honorable members that she is our current acting CEO, because our CEO is on suspension pending investigations against her, and Ms. Majola has been acting as the CEO. So she has prepared the presentation for the honorable members, and she will do the presentation. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Dr. Ndlovu, for that, and welcome, Sis Ntokozo, in your acting position. We wish you well. We believe you will assist us as the portfolio committee. You are really warmly welcome in the portfolio committee. Can you now present as delegated by the chairperson?
Thank you very much, Chair.
Lot of noise. Can you correct that, please?
Okay. I'm not sure if Secretariat is going. I'm not sure if Secretariat.
That guest, there's a guest called Philip. Mute your mic so that the speaker can present. Please proceed, Ntokozo.
Can Ntokozo unmute her mic? Can she mute her mic?
Secretariat. Okay. Can you see the presentation? So you have two devices on. So if you can take the one out, then the echo won't be there. You are logged in on two devices, so log the one out, and then you won't have the echo. Ms. Majola, can you hear me?
There is an echo which is stable. We can't hear Ntokozo.
Can you hear me now?
That sound is still there. I don't know whether you hear the echo behind you.
Yes.
Do you have two devices on? You have two devices on.
Or should I continue? Okay, I'll do that.
Keep on the echo.
Shamin, are you at the office? Was at the office? Tell her to get somebody to get her to take out the. She's got two devices on. So now because she has two.
I'm not practicing.
I don't see it in the better now.
Chair, can I suggest that Dr. Ndlovu proceed with the presentation until we sort out the technical challenges?
Is it better now? Hello?
Yes, there is no noise now.
Oh, okay. Can you please allow Ms. Konkwane to share the document?
Yes, you are allowed in Ntokozo. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. I'm just requesting King to allow Ms. Konkwane to share the document.
Okay, Bratin, do that, please.
Apologies, honorable members. We will sort this out because I've asked Mr. Mpangalase to assist today.
We seem to have problems with sharing the document.
Sister Ntokozo, if I may ask, is that the strategic plan that you want to share?
Yes, the strategic plan and APP. There you go.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Thank you. You can scroll it down. Okay. Please scroll down. Please scroll down the document or make me the host.
Okay, I thought somebody was helping putting up the document.
Yes, I don't know what has happened to it.
Oh, okay.
Chairperson. Chairperson,
Yes.
can I be noted?
Yes. Who's speaking?
Chairperson is Honorable April speaking.
Yes.
Chairperson, I know that we are all still new to the new normal and getting onto these platforms and discussing and having the portfolio committee on these platforms. But I think from the side of the department, they must really start to prepare much better when they come to present to the portfolio committee. Also looking at that, this is a live broadcast. It looks as if we all in the department and all in the portfolio committee looks like we don't know what we are doing. This is a serious indictment, and I want to register it for notice on this platform that it is in the next sitting that the committee must really, I mean the department, Seda, must prepare properly when they come and present to us as a department. Thank you, Chair.
Noted, Honorable April. I believe we share the very same sentiments. This will not happen again. Noted.
Chairperson,
Yes.
can I put up a strategic plan then, if that's the case? Because I can share from my side.
Yes. Yes, do that for us.
Okay.
Try to assist us. Then Tokozo, you will communicate with you on how to, on which pages will she be talking to. That will assist us a lot.
Okay.
I seem to be struggling as well. I don't know how, because it was showing earlier on. Still not showing.
Chair, let me share from my side. I have the document.
Okay, please do so. Do so, DG.
Dogozo, can you see the document?
Yes, I can see it. Okay, thank you very much, DG. I'm starting with a sincere apology to the members. We don't know what's happening. Technology is failing us. It's not a reflection of unpreparedness from our side. With me, I have executive manager for Seda technology program, which is responsible for incubators, amongst other programs in Seda, as well as the acting chief, that's Ms. Kongwane, as well as the acting chief officer, Mr. Elias, who handled the latter part of the presentation. This is just the structure of how our presentation is arranged, starting with our mandate, and then we'll move on to our strategic focus areas. Then we'll move to explaining how our performance is measured, and then just a very brief description of our technical indicators. You can move on, DG. Okay, I won't go into detail on this slide. It's just a summary of where Seda draws its mandate as an organization. Next slide, Dichi. Okay. As we all know, Seda was established in terms of the National Small Business Enabling Act in 1996, which was amended in 2004. Okay, we were established to implement government's policy for small enterprise development, to design and implement a standardized national delivery network throughout the country. We also design and implement small enterprise development support programs, and we do this in partnership with other stakeholders in the ecosystem. The next slide, DG. You can move on to the next one. Okay, this is a summary of our vision, mission, and our mission used to be, we've always aspired to be the center of excellence for small business development. This year, we did an amendment on our vision statement, and we want to be the national facilitator of SMME development in South Africa, promoting excellence across the ecosystem. The reason we changed our vision and we even included the element of ecosystem facilitator in our mission statement as well, is to align ourselves with the district development model that has been adopted by government as a way of delivering services to small enterprise development. Because we've realized as Seda that in trying to deliver services directly to small enterprises, we have limitations in the number of human resources that we have. We are also unable to reach out to every small town and village of this country. And being an ecosystem facilitator will also enable us to leverage both capacity and services from other role players in the ecosystem. Our values remain the same. They haven't changed. You can move to the next slide, Tichi. In brief, it's just to explain that our situational analysis is based mainly on the National Development Plan's vision of 2020. That's what we took into consideration when we were developing our strategic planning document. Our external and internal environmental analysis are also covered in detail in our strategic planning document. This is part B of our strategic planning document, which shows our strategic outcome-oriented goals. Our impact statement is that we want to see accelerated, inclusive economic growth, and we are also striving towards creating as well as sustaining jobs in the SMME sector. Our outcome is improved service access for SMMEs, which is one of the reasons why Seda was established in the first place, is seeing an increase in turnover in the small enterprises that we are assisting, is increasing the number of jobs that are created by the small businesses that we are assisting, as well as improved organizational excellence through ensuring that our internal business processes, as well as the competency of our staff, are enablers in assisting the organization to achieve on its mandates. Our strategic interventions is improved access to business development support through ecosystem facilitation. We'll elaborate on this point later in the presentation. Is also to make sure that there is access to information and business knowledge, to improve access to shared services through various platforms. We are in 4IR era now, and the COVID environment is even compelling us to move towards utilizing technology more and more in delivering our services. The fourth one is increasing provision of sector-specific technical support to small businesses, because we've realized that while there is a need for generic support, but there is sector-specific and customized support for small businesses is very important. Seda's strategy is also aligned to the department's mandate. That's where we get our cue from. The department's outcome is increased participation of SMMEs and cooperatives in domestic and international markets. Seda's contribution, MTSF contribution to that outcome is the number of SMMEs that will be receiving business development support, the number of entrepreneurs that will be trained on business development, as well as the number of SMMEs that will be supported with access to international markets from targeted sectors. The second outcome of the department is scaled up and coordinated support for SMMEs, cooperatives in villages and townships. Seda's contribution that is aligned to that outcome is establishing a total number of 270 incubators as well as digital hubs, and we are prioritizing rural and township areas in establishing digital hubs, as well as increasing the number of centers for entrepreneurship as well as incubators over the MTSF period. The department outcome is also designing and implementing responsive and targeted financial and non-financial support programs to new and existing SMMEs and cooperatives. Seda's MTSF target is women that we are targeting for business development services, youth, as well as people with disabilities. The targets, I must say, they were informed by the SMME support plan, but I also want to indicate upfront, as the committee is already aware, that we are in the process of revising our APP since the onset of target, and we are awaiting finalization of the budget by National Treasury. The second contribution to this outcome is the products markets that will encourage localization, especially in townships and rural areas, a target of 20 over the MTSF period. Next slide, Tichi.
Next slide. I'm on slide 13.
Yeah. We're seeing slide 12. Okay, thank you. This slide is unpacking the ecosystem facilitation model that I mentioned earlier. Is developed on the basis of the district development model that has been developed by the Department of Cooperative Governance. The purpose of this model is to ensure that there are focus areas for the effective delivery of small business development services nationally, based on a system to coordinate and facilitate the flow of resources. I must also mention that the model was also informed by a number of review and evaluation studies of the SMME ecosystem in South Africa, and the latest one was done by the EU-funded program of ecosystem development for small enterprises. And one of the things that they highlighted is the fragmentation and uncoordinated manner of delivering services to small businesses, both within government but also outside government. So one of the recommendations that also came out of the study was for Seda to elevate its role in the ecosystem in relation to other providers of business development services to small businesses by playing more of that coordinator and facilitative role. So this is a high-level ecosystem facilitation model. At the center in a district is a Seda branch, which is already there, and it's the four elements around it, which is facilitation of enterprise support development, is opportunity localization at a district level, facilitation of access to opportunities, and the structure is not only limited to government and municipalities, but it aims to include the private sector as well. On database management, we're working on a district information management system, because we realize that information on small businesses at a disaggregated level, at a level of a municipality, is very scarce, and we don't have databases that are built bottom up, such that they include clients that are assisted by Seda, by municipalities, by private sector at a district level. So this element of the model is meant to address that. The third element is building capacity, practitioner capacity across the ecosystem, not only within Seda, like training on assessment tools, accreditation, development of standards, PDS standards. And then the last one is facilitation of access to finance as well as markets. The underpinning structure to enable this coordination is the SMME Support Coordinating Council, which we will also link to the district steering committee that is in the model that has been put together by COPTA. Next slide, DG. This is just unpacking what I've already said, so I won't go into detail with the different elements of the ecosystem facilitation model. This one talked to access to markets within the district, within municipalities, within the private sector, in the district, and facilitation of supplier development programs using our incubation model. Next slide, teacher. This one is talking to linking entrepreneurship and education, but not in schools and not at primary school level, because that is the mandate of the Department of Basic Education. But where Seda is focusing, we are leveraging on our learning academy, which is going to play a very important role in linking up with the various CETAs, which is something we're already doing in facilitating practitioner skills development in the ecosystem. We are currently implementing a program that is funded by the services CETA over a period of 3 years. We've already trained, I think, 290 LED officers, mainly from Mpumalanga as well as the Free State. But as I say, the program is continuing. Some municipalities that have not been covered, we are still going to go to them in this current financial year. We're also leveraging on the incubation program to drive linkages between the incubation ecosystem, industry bodies, TVET colleges, as well as technology universities. Next slide, DG. Okay. On this slide, we just wanted to highlight that while the primary purpose of the district support centers is to facilitate and coordinate the business development ecosystem, Seda will still offer services directly where there is a market failure. We've just finished BDS ecosystem mapping, which covered both incubation as well as individual business development service providers. So what we are doing before we finalize our report on that work is to check what was the impact of COVID from the business development services point of view, because we think that information will also give us a clear indication of where market failures are in business development services. Next slide, teacher. Okay. Part C will indicate how we measure our performance. So the table below indicates the linkages between the impact statement, outcomes, output, and indicators, as well as the interventions that will be implemented by Seda. This is our impact statement, which I will not repeat because I've already mentioned it at the beginning of the presentation. Outcome 1 is improved service access for SMMEs. These are our outcome indicators. Over the MTSF period, we would like to have rolled out and implemented the ecosystem facilitation model in all 44 districts. We want to have implemented 20 product markets. We are starting with 4 in the current financial year. We've done feasibility studies, business plans, as well as a financial model for the 4 that were announced by the minister in her previous budget speech. We will be revamping an existing market in Umtata and remodeling it. Then we will be establishing a new one in Mahikeng, focusing on light manufacturing, and another one in Malahleni, also focusing on light manufacturing, and the last one will be in Musina. We also want to measure the number of districts where we will have implemented the district information management system, because this is going to be one of the enablers of the district ecosystem facilitation model. And the SMME Coordinating Council that I mentioned earlier, there is a structure where all stakeholders that are involved in SMME development in a district will be coordinating their initiative to address the issue of fragmented service delivery to small businesses. You can move on to the next slide, Uchi. On improved service access, one of the main things that we want to improve on, that we're currently working on, is the development of business development services standards. We undertook an extensive consultation process throughout the country in the previous financial year, soliciting input from different stakeholders in the ecosystem, and that culminated into a discussion paper on the professionalization of business advisory services in the country. We've since consolidated all that input, and we are now at a stage where we submitted a proposal to South African Bureau of Standards for the development of BDS standards, and a technical committee has been established already that is working on these standards, and we will complete this work in the current financial year. The next indicator is number of SMMEs that will be trained. The next one is number of SMMEs that will access international markets from targeted sectors. Obviously, this is one of the indicators that will be affected by the onset of COVID, because it's going to take a lot of time even for international exhibitions to be reinstated. So what we are currently focusing on is the readiness of our SMMEs for them to be involved in international markets through export readiness assessments, export orientation courses and training. But we are also, together with the department, exploring the platforms, various platforms that can be utilized to assist SMMEs to access international markets. One of those platforms that are also, I think we're working with the department on, is the She Trades portal, which is the ownership rests with the International Trade Center. then they get various countries involved. In South Africa, is going to focus more on women that are ready to export their products. Co-location points, currently we in the previous financial year, we finished the year with 81 co-location points. This is one aspect that we are going to continue working on. But in light of the fact that we are now going to be implementing the district facilitation model. At the co-location point, once we fully roll out the district ecosystem facilitation model, are going to be less and less important, except where there are market failures, where there's absolutely no service provider that Seda can even work with as a partner. Because the challenge with the co-location, you still need a Seda warm body to go and visit or offer services in that particular co-location point in certain instances it's on an appointment basis. It depends on the demand of a service in a particular area. And the number of SMMEs that access finance, we are working very closely with SIFA on one hand, especially in the schemes that have been launched by the department, but also prior to the onset of COVID, members may have been aware that we were doing a lot of pitching for funding sessions throughout the country. The purpose of pitching for funding sessions was to give small businesses an opportunity to pitch their business ideas so that they could qualify for funding from SIFA, from the financial instruments that were launched by the minister. Next slide, Chief. And then on improving service access to small businesses, next slide, DG, outcome 2. Okay, sorry, go to the, yeah. On improving service access to SMMEs, we also measure the number of startup enterprises that are going to be supported. I wanted to emphasize here that on the SMME support plan, the emphasis is on tech startup folks. I don't want the member to be alarmed by the number. So tech startups take time to get them off the ground. Number of new centers for entrepreneurship and rapid incubators over the MTSF period, we were targeting 22. Number of SMMEs receiving technology transfer support. This is a support program within our technology division that focuses on assisting SMMEs with access to technology and in certain instances, equipment. Number of SMMEs whose product quality has been tested. This is a very important area of our work as well. We also realized when the department advertised the request for information from small businesses, SMMEs that are providing essential products. We got a lot of responses, but most of the people had not gone through the testing and certification of their products, which then tends to disadvantage them. On outcome 4, on improving operational excellence, we rely quite a lot on our stakeholders as well, especially in leveraging both financial and non-financial support from stakeholders. In certain instances, our branches are using buildings that are not owned by us, for instance, by municipalities, where we pay nominal rents. In certain instances, we do leverage support from other stakeholders that offer services that we don't offer as Seda, for instance, technology innovation agencies. They provide a lot of training to small businesses that are involved in electronics, in chemicals, manufacturing. So sometimes where we don't have a service, we leverage a service from a stakeholder that offers it. On increasing turnover, number of SMMEs that access government procurement. We also looking at measuring a number of SMMEs that are assisted through the call center to ensure that, and this one is focused, it's not a physical presence, but also to ensure that small businesses that are not close to a Seda branch are also able to access our services. And then turnover increase in supported enterprises through ecosystem partners. We do measure the turnover increase through what we call improvement assessments. After we've assisted the client, we go back to the client 6 months later to check if the Seda assistance or intervention has had an impact on the client's business. That is measured either in increase in turnover or whether a business has been able to create additional jobs. Next slide, Dichi. Okay, on number of people, okay, we also measure number of people that are employed by the small enterprises, as I've indicated on the previous slide. We measure new jobs. We also measure jobs that are sustained by clients that we are assisting. And then the other contributor to this outcome is percentage of Seda's offerings that are accessible online, which has become very important. This is just also a breakdown to indicate that we do prioritize women, youth, as well as people with disabilities. On average, our clients, I think that are women is about 45%. And youth that is assisted by Seda, if I include assistant incubation as well, is 68%. If I only look at those that are assisted by Seda branches, in the previous financial year alone, it was 55%. People with disabilities is one indicator that we have battled with. We've always been around 2%. So we put 7% so that we are in line with the target, the government target for people with disabilities. Okay, this is just a summary of what are our key risks as an organization. One of them is the reduction in funding from National Treasury, as well as the department, as we know that the government is facing fiscal constraints. Our strategy for mitigating that risk is raising cash and non-cash assistance from value-adding partnerships with stakeholders. The other second important one that we are tracking as an organization is improving our BEE status level. We're currently on level 8. Our target for the current financial year that we've been given by our board is level 6. And we have specific areas that we need to improve on. We did very well on enterprise development in the previous financial year, as well as management control. But on things like skills development, because that requires you to utilize your own budget to implement programs like learnership, we're able to implement a lot of skills development programs utilizing stakeholder funding, like the one I mentioned earlier, that is funded by the services Seda. But unfortunately, that doesn't count towards your BEE points when you do your evaluation. Then we also cost all Seda's offerings and standardize our MOU templates when we enter into MOUs with stakeholders. The second risk is possible inadequate implementation of the mandate based to limited access to services in certain areas of the country. Hence, we've adopted the ecosystem a facilitator model as a risk mitigation strategy. From our incubation program, we've also developed and are implementing a national incubation standard. The incubation standards have already been gazetted. They are out for public comments, so that as Seda, we play that quality assurance role in the ecosystem. We've also done incubation ecosystem mapping. Our internal team is currently cleaning up the data that we received from that process. Both the BDS and the incubation maps, they are going to be digital maps, because we want to make this information available to our ecosystem partners, as even the municipalities and government departments that have an interest in establishing incubators in their areas, so that it's not a shelf document that people forget about, but they are able to go and press the button and see the spread of incubation in their areas, and also to see where the gaps are. We're also aligning Seda strategy and planning with the departments to make sure that we do implement our mandate fully. Okay. Inadequate development of staff appropriately is one of the risks that we identified. The first focus is our business advisors, which are a critical and scarce skill. They're a critical skill in the organization, but also a scarce skill in the ecosystem, because there are very few organizations that have the complement of business advisors that is equal to Seda. So we have developed a career pathing model with assistance also, or rather with input of external stakeholders like the Institute of Business Advisors of South Africa. We have developed a succession policy. We are reskilling our staff. The ecosystem facilitation model also comes with certain expectations and skills from our staff: facilitation skills, stakeholder management, cluster development and facilitation, and those are all the areas that we are currently focusing on. We did develop a competency dictionary for Seda that indicates what are the key competencies of the organization at different levels. So we are reviewing that organizational competency framework. We are addressing our model through the ecosystem facilitation model, also through exploiting the use of virtual platforms to ensure availability of services to small businesses. Next slide, please. Okay. On failure to leverage with other ecosystem partners, we have an integrated stakeholder engagement plan that is informed by stakeholders. We conduct stakeholder surveys in each province every year as a way of getting feedback from the stakeholders, mainly that we work with, on what are the things that Seda can improve on. We also have advocacy initiatives at the level of the CEO. I'm sure those of members that are on social media, that are active on social media, you do come across Seda information now and again on social media platforms. On failure to integrate organizational processes, we will be working on a process re-engineering and mapping. We have institutionalized business process mapping in the organization, especially in the two divisions that work directly with small businesses, that is Seda Technology as well as the Enterprise Development division. So we are building that up in the support divisions. Next slide, DG. Okay. On failure to implement the strategic ICT plan, we completed a gap analysis on the current ICT strategy for its adequacy, support, and development. And we have prioritized business systems modernization. Our ICT team or division has developed an ICT roadmap, which also took into consideration findings, internal audit findings when they audited our ICT division, and all of that have been collapsed into ICT roadmap that consolidate all ICT related issues in the organization. Organizational processes, I think I've spoken to this one earlier, on lack of business continuity management, awareness. We've institutionalized business continuity management, and one of the responsibilities that have been given to our Chief Risk Officer is developing Seda's business continuity plan. Is one of the things that we are tracking. Okay, there is a very detailed indicator, technical indicator description in the APP. I won't go into that in detail. You can move to the next slide, DG. Okay, I'm going to start with the Enterprise Development Division, which is Program 1. The purpose of this division is to support small businesses and cooperatives by providing them with needs-based and growth-oriented non-financial business development support to ensure that their businesses are sustainable and contribute to the country's developmental goals of decreasing unemployment and increasing contribution to the GDP. This is a breakdown of the output indicators that I have already mentioned when I was going through the strategic planning document. The first one is number of districts where we will be rolling out the district facilitation model. The product market, we have a target of 4 in the current financial year. Number of districts where we would have compiled the database and where we'll be using the district information management system. Number of clients that will be registered on the district database through the district facilitation model, and this is information that is lying on different databases at the district level. Hence, even if there is an opportunity that requires small businesses to provide a certain service or product, it takes time to respond beyond Seda's database because we don't have a central point of information that we can go to. Secondly, these databases or clients are not properly profiled, so we don't know their capacity, we don't know the quality of their product. So this is meant to address that gap and challenge. Number of informal businesses that are going to be supported through the ecosystem. We have a target of 25,000 for sponsors in the current financial year, but there are many more informal business sector support programs that we are working on with the department, as the DG covered them in his previous presentation to the portfolio committee. We are working on the standards already. I've already alluded to this. Number of people that are going to be trained. I also alluded to number of SMMEs that are going to be assisted to access international markets as well as co-location points. Access to finance does remain a priority for small businesses, and one of the things that our board has an interest in, and we are doing everything possible to work as closely as possible with SEFA in this area. We've jointly worked on a referral system, which we are working on digitizing between ourselves and SEFA. We undertook workshops throughout the country jointly with SEFA, with our operational staff, to make sure that they understand SEFA processes, they understand SEFA pre-requirements before a client is referred to SEFA for funding. BDS capacitation, not only for Seda business advisors. Seda has only, I think, 180 business advisors. In fact, if we include our regional facilitators that work on cooperative, is just under 200, 198. So this number also includes external service providers, especially for sector-specific interventions. Okay, this is the breakdown of what I've already taken the committee through. It's just a quarterly breakdown, so I will not go through this one by one. It's repetition of information that has already been covered. You can proceed, DG. This is program 2, the Seda technology program. The purpose of the program is to provide technology and innovation-oriented intervention, including quality and product improvement support to small enterprises and cooperatives. This is meant to enable incubated clients to improve their survival rate beyond first challenging 2 years of business startup by providing support to improve their product offering and other business development support. Okay, one of the key priorities in line with program 1 as well is our ecosystem facilitation model. We are looking at implementing about 25% of that model in the current financial year. This is looking it includes incubators that are funded by private sector as well. And then percentage of incubation and acceleration standards completed. We will complete that work in the current financial year. As I indicated, that the standards are already have been gazetted for comments by the public. Number of investment-ready SMMEs prepared to access finance. We're using mainly the pitching model to do this, and this works best, especially with the youth, because the department did an ecosystem study, I think about 3 years ago, and one of the outcomes of that study, it indicated that the gap in access to finance for small businesses is mostly people at ideation and pre-startup phase. Banks and other financiers are very reluctant to go into that space. They want someone to invest in a small business at that stage and see that it's the idea or the business is taking off before they can take risk and invest their money. That is also the reason why the department and SEFA launched the Small Business Innovation Fund in the previous financial year. It was focusing mainly on in those areas, innovative ideas that are risky, that financial institutions are very wary to fund. Okay. Number of incubation centers and digital hubs that are going to be supported is 130 in the current financial year. Number of startup enterprises, as I indicated earlier, these are tech startups. Number of new centers for entrepreneurship and rapid incubators is 4 in the current financial year. This is a target for technology transfer. There is a high demand for this facility, but we limit the number to 5,000 because of the budget that we have that is available. On product quality and testing, we have a target of 100, but we've since revised this program. This target, especially in light of the requests for information for small businesses that are producing essential products and are producing food products that are going to be procured by the PASA shops. So this target is much higher. I also wanted to add that we do provide product quality, product testing, and certification through the branch network as well. It's part of the business development services that is available through the branch network. This is a breakdown of our technology support program on a quarterly basis, so I won't go through it one by one because it's information that I've already covered. Administration includes monitoring organizational performance, strategic alignment with the shareholders' expectations, as well as capacitating the organization to achieve its set objective. So that is where we indicate how we measure our performance. Value of support leverage from partners. Every the two executives that are in the line function divisions, as well as our stakeholder relations senior manager. This is one of their key responsibilities, to leverage resources from external stakeholders. It's also one of the main responsibilities of the provincial managers to enter into partnership with local stakeholders, both in the public and the private sector. ESD or government procurement is also one of the areas that we are also measuring. Next slide, DG. You can move on, DG. Here is showing the turnover increase of our small businesses. Is one of the things that we are measuring. New jobs that will be created, as well as the number of jobs that will be sustained by SMMEs. Percentage of offerings that are accessible, the number of people. These are just our performance measures. We can move on, DG. The breakdown in terms of the targeted sectors, as well as the breakdown of the indicators per quarter as well. We can move on, DG. Okay, I'm going to hand over to our acting Chief Financial Officer to cover the budget part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. CFO, can you proceed, please?
Okay. Good morning, honorable members. I will start from slide 58, which is the budget portion. Can we go to the previous slide, Acting DG? Okay. On point 6.1, Seda applies the zero-based budgeting approach, which ensures that only the value-added activities are included in the budget. This is the model that allows us to manage the available budget effectively. And on the next paragraph, we have a little bit of a budget cut. The Seda medium-term expenditure baseline budget allocation was reduced by an amount of 81 million over the METF of 1920, which will be spread over a period of 3 years, the net effect on this total budget cut from 2018-2019 to date is about 69 million. The National Gazelle program that Seda was implementing, it has been discontinued after the 2019-20. This was the last year whereby National Gazelles were implemented by Seda. And the Enterprise Incubation Program, which was transferred from the department in the 2018-19, is part of Seda's technology program, as already mentioned by the acting CEO. And the medium-term expenditure framework budget allocation has been revised to accommodate the priorities of the 6th administration from 2019-20 onwards. Under this next slide, our money allocation that we receive from the DSBD in the financial year 2021 is an amount of 621 million, and the 150 million is for the Seda technology program. We've got a slight decrease of 4% on the 631 as we received 607 in 1920, and also on the Seda technology program, there's a decline of 1.25%. On overall, our total budget is currently 906 million, whereas it was 958 million in the year 1920. We've got about 5.21% decrease. Under the compensation of employees, we budgeted an amount of 408 million, which is about 45% of our total budget, because Seda is a service industry. And for the goods and services, we budgeted an amount of 450 million, which has declined from 569 million that we had in 1920. The decline is an amount of 119 million. This is mainly due to the budget cut that we are getting and the surplus funding that we had that was approved by National Treasury in the 18-19 financial year that we had. It was available to be used in the 1920, whereas it's no longer available in the 2021, hence the cut. We budgeted an amount of 30 million for the ICT infrastructure. Seda is embarking on a project whereby we are improving our ICT infrastructure in order to improve the efficiency of the organization. You can go to next slide, Acting DG. Next slide, please. Okay, on the next slide, we are showing our balance sheet, whereby we're sitting at the total asset of 227 million in the financial year 2021. It equals to our liabilities, which is also 227 million, and we estimated the cash and cash equivalent of about 144 million. Next slide, Acting DG. This slide is the cash flow projections. We are indicating that the net cash flow from operating activities will be 27.2 million in the year 2021, and cash flow from investing, this is an outflow. The money that we will spend on asset and other activities is about 21.1 million, and from the cash flow that we had of 138 million in the year 1920, we are now going to have the 144 million as already indicated in our balance sheet. Under this slide, we are indicating the breakdown of the capital expenditure. The financial year 2021, we will spend an amount of 20 million on the equipment. The next financial year increased to 22, and the next financial year 22-23, it increased to 23 million. The slight increase over the period is mainly to for the information and communication infrastructure that will capacitate the digital challenges and improve the ICT performance. On the other slide, we are showing the breakdown of the money that will spend on the program. In 2021, an amount of about 199 million will spend on the administrative, and 479 will be spent on the enterprise development program. And Seda technology program, we budgeted 227. It equals to 906 million. As you can see, there's a slight decrease from enterprise development, whereby in 1920 we had 508 million. Now we dropped to 479. And then also the Seda incubation, we had about 290. We are now sitting at 227. These are mainly because of the budget cut that we keep on getting. Next slide. That is the end of the presentation. But on overall, Seda is working on the ecosystem facilitation district model in order to meet the target as per the APP. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, here we are. Can I now invite you to interrogate with the presentation as presented by our officials from Seda? I'm now inviting members.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Chairperson, it's King. I'm
Yes.
back.
Yeah.
Chairperson, I want to bring to your attention members who have raised the question. Firstly, it was Honorable Kruger, followed by Honorable Hendricks, followed by Honorable April, followed by Honorable Mieni, and then followed by Honorable Lubengo. And then they are followed by Honorable Mpele.
Okay.
In that order, I think the Honorable Jacobs will follow after they've spoken. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Honorable Kruger, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the department for the informative presentation. Madam Chair, I'm a very worried member of Parliament. If you look at our department, all the positions, the important management positions are acting. So I don't know why, if you look at CIFA, the CEO is acting, the chairperson is acting. If you look at Seda, everybody is acting. If you look at the department, it's acting. And I think we need to have a serious discussion around this acting positions of the department and Seda and CIFA. The footprint of Seda, and I hope it's going to improve, but I don't think the footprint of Seda is good enough.
Proceed.
In our rural areas. And,
Honorable Kruger?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chair? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you are breaking a little bit. Come again.
All right. So what I'm saying is the footprint of the of Seda, it's not what it's supposed to be, especially in the rural areas. There's many small businesses that needs help from Seda, but they're absent in rural areas. Then Chair, the existing business, there's a big problem of existing business that needs support from Seda.
I think Seda is just chasing their PPIs, and they don't take notice of existing business. I know of many existing businesses that was financed by CIFA and the Department of Small Business and Seda that don't exist anymore. If you go back to that business, you will just find a piece of field. So we need a strategy from Seda to go back to existing businesses that was helped in the past and supported, so that we can see if that business is still existing. Chair, then also I got a big concern about bylaws of municipalities, and I understand that we're going to do this whole new district municipality strategy. But the biggest problem is going to be every municipality got different bylaws, and most municipalities, if you contact them and ask them for a list of their bylaws and for the databases of their bylaws, it's not existent. So small businesses are very uncertain of what are they allowed to do and what is the bylaws of municipalities. So I really want to propose that Seda is looking into the bylaws of the municipalities, so that they make it much easier for businesses to do business in the different municipalities. And then, Chair, I want to ask a question about the strategy of Seda existing businesses after COVID-19. What is their strategy? Is there a strategy? And I want to propose that we invite them back to the committee again on a future date, so that they can present the strategy. How are they going to assist existing businesses after this harmful COVID-19? My last proposal, Chairperson, is I also want to propose that Seda on a later stage come back to the committee and give us a presentation of existing businesses that was supported since 2014, and what are the business still in business? What is the situation of those businesses that was held by Seda, the department, and CIFA? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kruger. I think they are noting. I'm happy because you are coming up with concerns as well as recommendations. I believe they have noted that, but also noted them down. The next is Honorable Hendricks.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, one of the problems we have is that small businesses, most of them are sole proprietors and cannot be registered, and that registration certificate is needed for them to enter the system. I understand that there is a database, and I want to know if that database can't be filtered to identify sole proprietors. And then the next step, of course, is to do the tax regime, which the official spoke about. And then they can be given a certificate which is as recognizable as the certificate that is needed for them to enter our system. We've heard that Seda's footprint is a challenge. I want to tell Seda that we have parliamentary constituency offices, at least 400 throughout the country. It's the job of the constituency officers with the constituency officers to bring the issues of the people to Parliament, and in other words, the issues to Seda, and also to take the opportunities of Seda to the community. I just want Seda to open their doors so that this is not political, so that constituency officers of the different political parties can be a resource. I must thank Seda for assisting myself and the whip of the portfolio committee from our constituency offices, and they did a fantastic presentation on the Cape Flats in Athlone, which has always been the Cinderellas in South Africa. I want to know what Seda has done about the president's promise of 1,000 businesses in, I think, 100 days or 30 days in the State of the Nation address. I hope that they have not embarrassed the president and that has been achieved. Also, we want to know about the 1,000 preferential items that only small businesses can be bought so that people can focus on it. I can't understand, Honorable Chair, about the difficulties that Seda is having with people with disabilities. I've been a trade unionist for 10 years, just focusing on workers with disabilities. And I can tell you the talent that's available from workers with disabilities, whether they are blind, whether they have sensory disabilities, whether they have broken legs, is fantastic. And I can't understand why government departments, including Seda, can't access this vast pool of people with disabilities. Seda speaks proudly of the district model. I would like, with your permission, Honorable Chair, that they supply us with the district model, the districts that are on their radar, so that we can know where they are focusing on, so that we can carry out our oversight role. Honorable Chair, you know, small businesses, they are squeezed. They can't breathe. They need blended finance, and that doesn't seem to be coming. Also, yesterday or today was the 95th birthday of Mr. Langeni, Comrade Langeni. He is a national hero. He was in Ravonia, a very important person. He supported former President Mandela, and he has asked as his birthday wish, can't corruption be removed? And I want to hear clearly whether that is on the radar of Seda, and that Seda can tell us that there is no more corruption, and in fact wear a badge to say that I am not corrupt. So, Mr. Honorable Chair, I'm very happy about zero-based budgeting because it means you don't add the inflation percentage every year, but you work from scratch. I can't understand why Seda has so much liabilities. They get taxpayers' money. Why must they have liabilities? I would like to hear what are those liabilities. It is disgusting and a disgrace that Seda, who gets taxpayers' money, still have liabilities. They're getting free money. They don't have to pay that money back from the taxpayer. So at the moment, the presentation is fantastic. We've heard it last year. The previous portfolio committee heard it 5 times. Parliament has heard it. But with due respect, Honorable Chair, it is all thunder, but no lightning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Hendricks. Concrete criticism which will assist the department to move forward. Next speaker is Honorable April.
Honorable Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you so much, Seda, for the presentation that you have made. I hope I'm audible and everything else. You know, normally my questions is brief and to the point, but this time I went a little bit through the presentation and I've got some questions that I need to ask to Seda. Seda, on a backdrop, I just want to bring it to your attention that in 2012, a report titled Analysis of Needs, State and Performance of Small and Medium Business in Agriculture, Manufacturing, ICT and Tourism sectors in South Africa was prepared by Mente Research and Consulting Services. For Seda, identified that a number of general barriers to entry and challenges that are faced by SMEs in South Africa that cut across the agricultural, manufacturing, ICT and tourism sectors. These included A, lack of business planning during startup, B, fragmented and uncoordinated support from entities tasked with providing assistance, C, difficulty accessing finance, difficulty accessing markets or meeting industry requirements or standards. E was a lack of experience amongst owners and management F, lack of sector-specific expertise. G, inconsistencies in cash flow. H, lack of entrepreneurial skills and mindset as well as business acumen. I, lack of capacity to undertake market research, resulting in a lack of understanding of market needs and characteristics. J, skill shortages, particularly with respect to technical skills and business management skills. K, lack of innovation and creativity. I, difficulty accessing land or securing operating premises. M, the red tape and cumbersome regulatory process procedures. The report notes that the small enterprise that Seda plans to divert considerably more resources and effort to supporting SMEs in order to have a greater impact in stimulating job creation. Here's my question. Since 2012, to what extent has Seda managed to make a dent improving the situation in relation to the challenges mentioned above, like the business plans, the fragmented and uncoordinated support from entities tasked with providing assistance, and others? In alignment to the portfolio's mandate over the medium-term period, on page 11 of the presentation, one of the outcomes is increased participation of SMMEs and cooperatives in domestic and international markets. Your targets include ensuring that 260,000 SMMEs receive business development support, 3,052 SMMEs supported access international markets from targeted sectors. Here's the second question. To what extent will Seda's targets in this regard be impacted by the COVID pandemic? Seda's facilitator delivery model linking entrepreneurship and education, page 16 of the presentation. Seda plans to refocus entrepreneurship in tertiary education institutions, leverage on Seda's academy business plan to include mechanisms to facilitate internships, leverage on work done with CETAs for a structured program cutting across all the CETAs, Seda becoming skills training facilitator in the SMME sector, leverage on the incubation program to drive linkages between incubation ecosystems. Seda, I hope you are following. I will also give my questions in writing if you want. It's important to note that we need specific questions on specific answers on these questions, and I also want to then say that Honorable Kruger made a synopsis. He noted that the department is not is like Hollywood. There's a lot of acting this and acting that. And this is really something that we must take in a very serious light. It's something that must be addressed with immediate effect. I think we've been hana-hanaing about it since last year, and we need to see some action with regards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable April. I believe they have noted down the questions. You may also forward them in writing because they were so long, but we really appreciate the interrogation by honorable members. The next speaker will be Honorable Mieni. Honorable Mieni, over to you.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think I've got only 2 questions. But before that, I wanted to check with Seda the pitch for funding, which they were in all these provinces, whether they did manage to finish or they did manage to give the small business some funds or not. I want to check on that because these people keep on phoning us. The second question is that could Seda explain the plan in detail in terms of financial, human resource, and the implementation capacity required to make their model successful for the benefit of the co-ops and the SMEs? Lastly, The COVID-19 has demolished a small business. Do they have a recovery plan after this pandemic? Lastly, I want to check with Seda, what is their view on introducing entrepreneurship in education in primary schools? That is my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mieni. The next speaker is Honorable Lubengo. Over to you. Honorable Lubengo, it's your turn, please. Hello, Chairperson. Yes, it's your turn. You can speak, Honorable Lubengo.
My question is in my questions is in page 20. Page 20. My questions is in page. My questions is in page 20.
Yes, you can proceed, Honorable Member. We're listening.
Thank you, Chairperson. Could Seda explain to this committee on the plan in details in terms of the financial, human resources, and the implementation capacity required to make this model successful for the benefit of the co-ops and SMEs? Chairperson, on the strategic mapping, monitoring and evaluation of partners and gap identification, what is the situation currently, and what will this look like at the end of the financial year? The other question is on improved services access for SMEs. Seda plans to establish an extra 6 core location points by the end of the 6th Parliament, from a baseline of 65 to 71 in 5 years. The other question, Chairperson, is that could Seda please tell the committee where they plan to establish the additional co-location points? Seda, please elaborate on the figures. How Seda arrived at the target of 71 from a baseline of 65. What issue did the agency take into consideration? Are the numbers sufficient for making Seda accessible in the rural and urban areas? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Lubengo. The next speaker is Honorable Mbele. Hope all those questions are being captured properly by the department. Honorable Mbele.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to Seda for the presentation. I think my opening remarks will echo a point made by Honorable April, which is around the fact that there was mention during the PowerPoints about how Seda interventions in many aspects are serving to address market failure in various contexts, and I think that's an important issue, because where we find situations where there are markets that are uncompetitive, so where there's some sort of monopoly situation, then there will be market failure because supply and demand and pricing are not operating effectively. But I think particularly when it comes to enterprise development, which is Seda's kind of anchor and foundation, there's also the factor of policy failure, which very much weighs on the prospects of identifying and assisting small businesses to develop. A small example, well, not small, but one example is that of the issue of centralized wage bargaining agreements, and how those contribute to stagnant job creation in the economy. Because that disincentivizes small businesses to take the risk of taking on new, inexperienced, unskilled, especially young job seekers. If there isn't going to be the flexibility of taking on that risk and then discarding the risk should it not be worthwhile. So we need policy reform to a more decentralized model, and some automatic exemptions for SMMEs, for them to have a more flexible and less burdensome labor and wage regime, which is really around that red tape issue. But I know that under the employment and labor portfolio, it's just a point worth highlighting to say that a business development intervention in and of itself is probably only 30% of the equation if we really want to have systemic, sustainable, and comprehensive small business development. And that was in fact highlighted in slides 14 and 15 of the presentation, because those two slides highlighted the two crucial factors that contribute to the small business space, namely access to finance and access to markets. And we know Seda is working diligently to maximize on the access to markets dimension, and CIFA is in the access to finance space. But the third factor really that weighs heavily on the success and sustainability of small business, especially new and emerging small business, is the ease of doing business, how much red tape they have to navigate, and that is a sort of overhanging umbrella to our discussion. My one question, Chair, I'm going to keep it short and simple, because it was a statement made by Seda that piqued my interest, which was on this issue of how the agency is working to improve its empowerment scorecard level. Could they please just elaborate and go into a bit more detail to explain why Seda, as I heard, if I heard correctly, why Seda was unable to obtain empowerment scorecard points for skills development through learnerships? I hope I captured that correctly. Is it a case that is it applying to learnerships that are run internally in Seda, or is it saying that the learnerships facilitated by Seda in their clients' enterprises are the ones they can't get skills development scorecard points for? Because the latter makes sense, but I was confused when it sounded like Seda was saying they can't obtain scorecard points for skills development for their BBBEE status through their own internal learnerships. So just some clarity on that, please. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mbele. The next speaker is Honorable Jacobs. Over to you, Honorable Jacobs.
Thank you, Chair, and let's first record our appreciation for the very comprehensive presentation. Thank you very much. I think many good questions was asked already. We have very ambitious targets. I think we've alluded to the fact on page 24, our targets are increasing from 11,500 to 190,000 on page 24. It's massive targets given the COVID pandemic. How will the COVID pandemic and the relief funds affect these targets? And how confident is Seda that we will achieve these targets? And if we don't achieve these targets, what is the remedial approach? Then the next question I have is, according to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, when considering government initiatives, there's a marked increase in awareness of Seda in the ages of between 18 and 24, from 17% in 2016 to 5.6 in 2017, and a lesser extent in the age group from 35 to 34, from 26 to 20%. However, there's an increase in awareness in the age group from 35 to 44. Thus, the results indicate marketing done by Seda is not successfully targeting young people. So I want to ask the question, in Seda's view, the agency is struggling to attract young people. How is Seda going to market, given that we have such high unemployment stats? We always talk about rural youth, women empowerment. Is Seda marketed to approach those sectors, especially around the young people? I think then the last question I have is, I think James note that it's encouraged that a lot of people use Seda. I think it says for 22% found that somehow it to be effective, 23% found it to be very effective. Nonetheless, Seda needs to improve as other organizations are perceived to be more effective. Other organizations that been perceived to be more effective is IDC, NEC, DTI. GM notes the high awareness of Seda in urban areas at 72% and slightly down from 80% in 2016. The question that we're asking is, Seda needs to be commended for establishing its presence in the urban areas. However, the committee should ask, what are the challenges in Seda experiencing to get awareness and marketing strategy in the rural areas? And what will Seda do differently to improve its footprint in those areas? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair of the study group, Honorable Jacobs. I will now invite the department to respond to all those questions. Over to you, CEO Dr. Lovo.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think, can you hear me, Chairperson? Okay, I wanted to start by saying I'm going to request the department to respond to questions that relate to the bylaws and race type reduction, because there is work that is being done by the department in that area. Then the questions that are based on the study that was conducted, I think in 2012, as the chairperson has alluded, we are requesting to respond to that question in writing. We also requesting the honorable member to send the question in writing to us so that we can see the study that he is referring to, and we are able to go back to our reports and information and respond comprehensively to his question. We welcome the request from Honorable Kruger for us to indicate what is Seda doing to assist the existing businesses in light of COVID, the COVID-19 pandemic. Safe to say that in our operational targets, in other words, in what we sign performance agreements with our business advisors and branch staff and branch managers on. They are also required, they are allocated a percentage of existing clients that they've worked with that they need to go back to check if those clients are still operational. Do they need additional interventions from Seda? We're not disputing the fact that some of them may have gone into trouble, but we are requesting to come back to the committee with a more comprehensive presentation to that in response to his request. On the question of sole proprietors, this is, I think, an issue that is also on the table at the department's level, and the DG may want to add to my response afterwards. Mine is to say we are aware of the challenges that also come with registering informal businesses as PTY Limited, and some of the, I think, onerous expectations, compliance expectations on those types of businesses. But I'm also aware that the department is intending to have engagement with the DTIC. As Seda, we have had a meeting with the commissioner of the CIPC to raise the challenges, but as an agency of government, currently we can only work within the legal framework that the department and government is expecting us to work on. The DG will add more from the department's side in responding to that question. On what has Seda done on the 1,000 youth-owned enterprises in 100 days, this is a scheme that resides, or rather a program that resides mainly with NYDA. They are handling the funding element of the 1,000 businesses in 100 days project. They have approached us and we agreed to assist with the mentorship element because they could not cope with the number of people that had to be assisted through that program, and they've asked Seda to handle the business development aspect of that project. Otherwise, generally in working with the youth, there are a number of programs. My colleague from Seda Technology Program will also come in at some stage, but the programs for Center for Entrepreneurship is mainly targets the youth. In the Northwest, we're also working with Liema Technologies. There is an ICT youth incubator that is being established. That is the bulk of funding will be coming from the Provincial Department of Economic Development in partnership with Seda Technology Program that focuses specifically on the youth. In Cape Town, we're also working with the youth on a furniture manufacturing project for the youth, close to 400 youth, and we worked with ward councillors in identifying youth that is going to be involved in that program. But there will be more detail from my colleague from STP on what the Centers for Entrepreneurship are also doing in that area. On districts that we'll be focusing on in rolling out the district ecosystem facilitation model, the information will be forwarded in writing because we have selected in each province. There is, for this current financial year, there isn't less than 2 district where we're going to roll out the district ecosystem facilitation model. Our main priorities also in this area was the OR Tambo district. In fact, it was the 3 districts where the model was launched by the president, OR Tambo, eThekwini, as well as Waterberg. We've done a lot of work already in OR Tambo district. We've had engagements with both the district at mayoral level and official level, as well as all local municipalities in OR Tambo district. We at the time, we had to go on lockdown. We were at the level where we were mapping our processes together with the district as one of the stakeholders. But even Department of Agriculture and all other departments that play a role in small business development, we had extensive engagements with them on the district facilitation model. So we will provide the list to the committee on all the districts that we are working with in this area. On introducing entrepreneurship in primary school, yes, it's a good thing, but that we support as Seda, but it's not within our mandate because that is the role of the Department of Basic Education to do that, where it still need to be integrated into their curriculum, entrepreneurship as well as innovation. Our capacity and our role so far has been limited to those that are almost exiting high school, grade 10 and 11, where we do awareness both on the learners as well as the business management educators as well. And we have a competition that ends with a boot camp in partnership with a private sector, a stakeholder that we've been part of for the past 3 years. On co-location, I did touch on this a bit when I was explaining the district ecosystem facilitation model, where I said the district ecosystem facilitation model, because of its scale, is going to enable us to reach out much further and be more involved than through co-location, because co-location is still largely dependent on a Seda staff member from a branch going out of the office to service a co-location point. The unintended result of that is that, yes, you have a business advisor that is out of the office to service incoming clients as well. We're going to continue implementing that model, but our main focus is using the district ecosystem facilitation model, because part of that is also strengthening the relationship with the local municipalities, but also private business development providers. That Seda is already working with the service providers in any case to offer services in those areas where Seda is not available. This also addresses Mr. Jacob's question of saying, how do we intend to facilitate access to Seda services outside towns and cities? We're putting a lot of emphasis on the district ecosystem facilitation model and the SMME district coordinating council that will pull together all the stakeholders that are involved in small business development at the district level to enable us to cover a small business development much wider. On BEE scorecard, this was a question from Honorable Mbele. When we were doing the evaluation of our scorecard, specifically on learnership, if Seda if we can raise funding, say from IT SETA, and we employ people for learnerships, but pay them with the budget from the theatre. We don't you don't earn a scorecard, you don't earn points to improve your scorecard with that money, because the way the scorecard is designed, it was not, at the beginning, it was not designed for government departments and government agencies. It was designed mainly for the private sector. For instance, to force a private company to utilize a certain amount of its budget to pay for learnership, so that it then earns points. The same principles apply to a government department or a government agency. For us to earn considerable amount of points for learnership, we have to use our own Seda budget. And the budget, excuse me, that we allocate to learnership is very limited. And yet it's one of the areas that stand to earn us a lot of points if we are able to allocate a lot of budget to it. So the decision we've made in-house is that we need to identify savings as we go along in the financial year that we can utilize to pay for the learnership. Similarly, we're implementing an accredited skills development program, utilizing funding that we got from the services SETA. That program will not earn us points for the scorecard because it's not our budget. It's an accredited program, but it's not our budget. So again, it's not going to earn us points for the scorecard. So it's a very delicate and I think strictly regulated way of earning points for the scorecard. I'll invite Ms. Kongwani to respond to the other points while I'm looking at the rest of the question. Safe to say that there are definitely targets that are going to be affected by COVID because we've had to redirect our resources to cushion those areas that and sectors that are very vulnerable and are likely to be impacted heavily by COVID-19. But that will be reflected on the APP that is still going to come back to the committee once National Treasury has finalized the budget. Ms. Kongwane.
Thank you, Acting CEO. I'm going to fill in on the question regarding the support to youth, and I wanted to indicate that we had special programs that were launched during this also during this COVID period. The one is in the Vembe TVET College through the Center for Entrepreneurship Rapid Incubator. And we also did the same at Ekurhuleni Western College that is situated in Katlehong. We launched a drone accelerator program that is targeting interested entrepreneurs in the use of drones in the tourism sector, and the agricultural sector, and security industry, and also those who want to acquire skills to be drone pilots. We've also supported tech startups as well to get into the gaming industry. There's a published call by the Beyond 4IR Tech Incubator, which is based covering Mabopane, Soshanguve areas in building gaming skills. I think so that South Africa does not forever become the consumer of games, but also they are locally developed games. When, as we know that the industry is the market opportunities in this industry are also very huge. We also, in supporting the youth again, We also look at the Smart Exchange, one of the supported incubators as well. To that incubator, they will run the innovation challenge for youths to pitch for ideas that are solving the COVID-19 challenges, and we put there an innovation challenge to say that the youth must come up with various ideas, and we put forward 500,000 for each business to be supported to develop their innovative idea in health tech, in fintech, and virtual worker, just to mention the few. And also to indicate that during this COVID period as well, there's the incubator that is operating in the chemical space. We've been supporting through their shared facilities. We have been supporting SMMEs to scale up their production and take market opportunities, especially for the sanitizers and also the disinfectants. Some of the entrepreneurs has been supplying some of the government departments, and also some of the SOEs and the various private entities in that area. And also, I think Ms. Majola, I wanted to also come in on the one that is saying, how are we going to be creating our awareness in rural areas remains to be very low. And also, and I wanted to also have inputs on that one, to say that in our district facilitation model that we're embarking on in this financial year, which is 2020, we also we'll be using various partners that we've identified. We've also welcomed the opportunity to use the political party constituency offices as well. So in the rural areas, we'll be partnering with various entities that are supporting small enterprises that are available in those areas. But in the main, we also took a resolution to partner with all the LED offices in these local municipalities. And then what we've also resolved, that we've also started that in other municipalities, that we will be scaling up the program of training those LED officers to be the extension of the provision of Seda support services into those far-flung areas. Thank you, Ms. Majola. I think you've covered many parts.
Maybe just come through before DG comes through. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members, for the questions that have been posed. I had thought that I would start before our acting CE and executive responded, but I'm happy that they responded to a number of questions that would have touched on. Maybe the one that was not touched on is the issues of acting posts. As you know, I'm also an acting chairperson. I think processes are in place to make it formal so that I'm not acting, but I think the acting DG will touch on that one. But I wanted to speak to the acting post that we have at Seda. So the first one that I've announced when I introduced Ms. Majola is that as the board of Seda, we had taken a resolution to place the executive officer of Seda, Ms. Chikwantamba, on a precautionary suspension with immediate effect, pending the outcome of an investigation by an independent investigator. So for us, when we took this resolution as a board, we obviously thought of the perception and how it will look on the market, because already we've got acting executives that we have currently. But we thought with what was being put on the table regarding Ms. Chikwantamba, we had no option but to have a comprehensive investigation take place instead of just letting her continue when we have these issues that we have to clarify. So I just want to affirm to the members that we really thought deeply, and I think once the investigation is completed and the process is also complete, we will be able to give members more information as to exactly what we were dealing with, and I'm sure the members will then understand why we had to place Ms. Chikwantamba on a precautionary suspension. So now we have executives whose contracts have come to an end, and as members would know, we have a merger that is gaining serious momentum, and we did not want to extend the contracts when we know that this merger is taking place and it might have implications on our structuring. So we then decided as a board that let's then have people on an acting positions so that we can, once the merger is completed and it's done, we can then appoint people on a full-time basis. I think for us as a board, what gave us comfort in having these acting posts is that we knew that although our succession planning policy was at a stage where we have people who are ready and able to take these acting positions. As you have seen how the acting CEO has responded, she is very aware of what is happening in the organization and she can take firm decisions, so there's no work that's stopping because our CEO is on suspension. So the work continues. We continue giving service to our mandate. So I just wanted to touch on that to say on the acting post, that's where we are. But if I can just reassure you that the work is continuing and we do understand how it would look like to the committee as well as to the public at large. I think Ms. Majola as well as Ms. Konkwani had touched on the district facilitation model because, yes, we are very much aware that when it comes to rural areas in particular, we are not doing very well. Our footprint is very narrow there, and that's why we then adopted the district facilitation model that's been driven from the department level right up to the agencies. And we want for us to then just change that footprint so that we are able to deliver where we need to be delivered. I think they've touched on what is exactly that we are doing at different areas, and the OR Tambo, Ms. Majola has spoken on that one to say that was our testing, and we will be expanding that across various district municipalities. In addition, also what we want to do, we want the members will see in our future presentation, when we present, we'll be able to be showing you exactly each district, where are we and what are we doing in each district. Then I also wanted to touch on the issues of what are we going to do post-lockdown with the COVID-19 pandemic that we have currently. We've been working in collaboration with the CIFA, as well as the department. There are numerous programs, support schemes that we have started. I'm not sure if members have received what we are doing. There's the automotive aftermarket support scheme. There's the clothing, textile, and leather support scheme. There are numerous schemes that we have put in place to ensure that we give the necessary support to different sectors, to different industries. So if the members do not have, I would then ensure that it is forwarded to you so that you can know that we are doing something, and we are very much aware that our target market would be wanting a huge support from us as an agency. I also wanted to just touch on the question by Honorable Member Jacobs on the issues of the targets. Are they, I think he was asking, are they realistic? You know, are we not being over ambitious with how we are jumping? We looked at it because when we did our strategic session, we started right at the board level. We had executives, then we had different levels, just looking at it and just ensuring that the targets that we set do comply to the SMART principles. So I'm very comfortable that we should be able to to reach those targets. And if those targets are not met, the remedial, we do have remedials in plans as well, because what we do as well, we've got a mid-term review where we look at what is it that we have set to achieve, and mid-term, where are we with those targets that have been set. And it's either we revise those or we add more resources to ensure that those targets are met. I think, Honorable Chairperson and members, those are just the points that I wanted to touch on, but I'm going to ask Mr. Mabani to deal with the question that was asked by one of the honorable members regarding our liabilities. And I think if you, so if you can touch on those liabilities, if you can just respond on that, I think we would have touched on all the questions that have been asked, and we could then just hand over to the department to cover those ones that we did not sufficiently cover. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Our liabilities is a combination of the funds that we receive in advance from the department and other external funders. This funding, we ring-fence them because some of them we use them over a period of 2 to 3 years in line with the contract. And also included is the payment of the suppliers that we do get towards the year end. Mostly these payments to suppliers are not older than 30 days. They are very short term. We accrue for them because some of the invoices, we get them immediately after the financial year, but they relate to the year that has ended. Thank you.
Thank you, DG, Acting DG.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, still morning to honorable members. I think there is one question that Honorable Seda asked about the red tape and bylaws, etc. I think we do have an intervention that talks to red tape, where we intervene in a particular municipality, and then after a period of time we go back to make an assessment. But what we've also realized, Chair, is some of these things, when you interact, for example, when you interacted with CIPC at some stage, asking them about certain processes that they are having in their systems, which we think are causing a lot of work for our SMMEs, they tell you straight that this is how they make their money, so we cannot interfere with those things. But we are planning to have this strategic discussion with them, especially at the departmental level, because they get their mandate from Department of Trade and Industry, to highlight the issues that we think need to be addressed so that they are not dependent on money that comes from registration of the small businesses in particular, if they can have some sort of exclusions for informal businesses, because if we are trying to formalize these businesses and trying to make sure that they are known and they are part of the net, we need to encourage them, so that it needs to be some sort of an encouragement. So we will be engaging with the Department of Trade and Industry in particular to address these issues, and they need to find a way of raising money for CIPC not to depend on the money that comes from small businesses. But the other issue was the issue of bylaws. The district development model is another way that will assist us to address this issue, because remember, bylaws are developed by municipalities and they have a mandate to do that, and sometimes they might not view it positively if we just come and impose ourselves on them. But we started a very good relationship with SALCA. They've assisted us with the implementation of the informal businesses, so we believe that we can take up these issues around bylaws, in particular, how we can make them more developmental in their approach, rather than them just being laws which must be met by our SMMEs. So there are these issues that we are engaging on, Honorable Chair, and we are aware that they are a burden to SMMEs, and we will address them as we continue, Chair. I think that was the main question, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Honorable members, is there anyone who wants to make some follow-up? Honorable members?
Honorable Chair, I have one follow-up.
Okay, Honorable Hendricks, you can do so.
Yeah, one point I missed is that there are many business advisors, and it's very difficult to get business advisors. And I'm very happy that the department has a plan in place. I want to know if it's possible the existing business survivors, advisors, I want to know who of them, if any, has run a business in a spaza shop, has run a micro enterprise, has run a small business, because you can't give advice if you haven't run those businesses yourself. And I've got a feeling that not many of our business advisors have run a spaza shop, have run a micro business, have run a small enterprise. But this, I want peace of mind that those who are advising have been in the field and got practical knowledge and not advising out of textbooks. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Hendricks. DG, I'm posing this to you. If you feel that Seda must answer, you will direct us. That's the only follow-up question I have.
Chair, if I may, just one quick one before the TG.
Okay, Honorable Jacobs, come in.
Thank you, Chair. My apologies, TG. Just a quick, we spoke about the integration between Seda and CIFA. Maybe the department and the ministry cannot today, but at some stage come back to the portfolio to look at the implementation framework and time framework where we can have this.
Thank you, Honorable Jacobs. I think the DG has noted at a certain stage you need to come back and give us some framework. We are aware that you are busy and it's something which cannot be done overnight, but we'll appreciate if you come from time to time and brief us on the development on this matter. So can you respond to the other one of Honorable Hendrick?
Yes, no, thank you, Chair. No, we'll definitely update the committee in terms of what we're doing once we've started earnestly with the implementation part of it.
You are cutting. I don't know why. We can't hear you.
You can't hear me, Chair. I don't know. Maybe the connection is not too good, but I'm not having any challenges from my side. Chair, I think the issue of the qualification of the business advisors, it's an issue that has been raised with the board by the minister as well, that we need people who have practical experience. But we are saying, because we cannot dump people who are not having that experience, there is training that is being provided. There is a tool, for example, the growth wheel, a tool that has been introduced, which Seda business advisors are utilizing to assist SMMEs to grow their businesses and to increase their turnover. But I'll request the acting CEO in particular to give further information in terms of what is being done to empower the business advisors in particular, because it's true that you need people who have practical knowledge to assist small businesses.
Okay. Okay, may I come in, Chair?
Yes, come in.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as the DG has indicated, the bulk of our business advisors, they've never run businesses. Let me put it that way. We have a very, very minimal number of both business advisors and branch managers that have run businesses. However, as the DG has said, we've had programs to empower our business advisors. In the previous financial year, we also implemented an on-the-business coaching and mentorship for our business advisors, where they are mentored or to provide, to provide practical skills on a running business by an experienced business person. That's one of the things we did last year. One of the things that we are focusing on this year is also a partnership with Productivity SA, because it's very difficult. It will be difficult to get secondments for our business advisors into companies. So what we are doing is looking at our stakeholders that run such programs in the companies, and one of them is Productivity SA for their workplace challenge program, to pair their specialists with our business advisors where it's possible, so that our business advisors get exposed on the day-to-day running of a business. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable members, still anyone who wants to make some follow-up? None. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you, honorable members, as well as our officials from the department, as well as from Seda. I am impressed. What I want to indicate here to the DG, because you are the one who's leading the two agencies in the department, as well as the department. The issue of outcomes should relate to the activities which are being done by the department. That's the first thing. I believe that's why members wanted to know the issue of targets from 65 to 71. Because if the plan is for 5 years, the baseline should be clear on targets. And I've realized that while presenting your presentation, there are new baselines. We agree on that one, but we can't just say this is the figure for the 5-year plan without indicating the target of each year, so that while busy monitoring you, because while the one who will be assisting you to do oversight, more special the DG from the department, it becomes clear to us whether there is movement or not. So we'll appreciate that you relook at that one, so that we're able to do our oversight properly. On the issue of vacancies, I'm not yet happy, but political will engage with that department, because we know that since that department, which is dealing with organogram, cannot assist us for now, there is little that the department can do for now. But on the issue of 100,000 projects, can we be furnished with all the provinces on this matter? Because as one member has indicated that we've got 400 PCOs in the countries, regardless of a particular party. It will assist us as honorable members to do our oversight and also to utilize those PCOs properly. Again, I'll be happy if we can be furnished with a list of LED officials in the entire country, province per province, so that we're able to link those PCOs with those LEDs, and also to have a program which will highlight us to us. How are you going to train them? Because the LED officials in municipalities must have knowledge. They must not just be LED managers, but they must have background of business to be able to assist our people. Again, I want to put emphasis on the issue of people with disability. Please, let's consider them. Let's stick to the policy. That 7% is not a favor. It's a must. Can you adhere to it? And we'll appreciate to see the turnaround strategy while you are busy reviving your APP, most especially on the impact by the COVID-19, because it has disrupted us, but we can't fold our arms. We'll appreciate really to see that particular turnaround strategy on how best are we going to address our problem in our sector. So, honorable members, DG, thank you so much. I believe you have really noted all the. I can't go back to them, but each and every member contributed a lot. And if we can be assisted in this regard, this department will fly high. Thank you so much. The meeting stands adjourned. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Chair.
Stay
Thank you,
safe.
everybody.
Enjoy your
Thank you, Chair.
Hi,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Take care,
Bye.
Chair.
Thank
You
you.
must relax, Chair. You must get rid
Have a
of that
great
cough.
weekend.
Ginger, you must drink ginger, Chair, ginger.
I'm busy with ginger. Old age, Honorable Hendricks. You
Thank
must
you.
not.
I'm so happy.
This
Otherwise, I'll drink the
is
ginger.
old people. Thank you. Close the meeting.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I miss your breakfast. I'm missing it. That's why I'm home.
Soon, we'll have it.
Thank you, Braking.
Thank you, Jay. I had some challenges with the electricity, man. The load
Oh,
shedding. Yeah.
okay. All right.
Okay.
Be fine.
Thank
We
you
had,
so much. Yes.
we had a good meeting.
Donzi. Yini Donzi.
What do we call it? The death, what?
Tambole
Sound check to multi-choice, sound check 1, 2, and 2, testing 1, 2. Sound check to multi-choice, sound check 1, 2, and 2, testing 1, 2, sound check to broadcast 1, 2, and 2, sound check 1, 2.
Okay, good day, everyone. Good to see everybody here. My colleagues, you are missed now. This lockdown must end. It's bad. It's bad. I miss some of the misbehaviors of the committee, whom shall remain nameless for now. Colleagues, I hope you are all well.
That was long overdue, Chair. We've been waiting to hear such. It's long overdue.
Colleagues, I hope you are all well and taking care of yourselves and your families during this time. We welcome the Auditor General into our meeting, and of course our forever diligent staff, our colleagues. Good day. I hope you are also taking care of yourself and everybody else who may be in the meeting. Good day. Today we are receiving a briefing from the AG on water and sanitation, with a particular focus, of course, as well on the water boards. I do want to point out at the outset that the AG will have a teeny-weeny bit of a shortcoming, in the sense that the water boards have financial year only ends at the end of June, and so that audit is not complete, but they will give us what they have. I think it will form the basis of what we need to do. So can I hand over immediately? The apologies have been noted. Sistombi will enter those into the record, and then we are good to go. So AG, we are in your capable hands. Take the time you need, and then you'll just introduce the team that you have brought with you. All right, over to you, AG.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon, Honorable Members. I trust that I am audible to all the members. My name is Andries Segeto. I'm the Business Executive responsible for the water and sanitation portfolio, amongst other things. Today's presentation, I'll be assisted by Mr. Stephen Kheleli. He's the Engagement Manager who's responsible for the WT, or the Water Trading Entity Audit, as well as that of the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority, or the TCTA, as is commonly referred to. For today's session, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, it will just be the two of us. We'll take you through the presentation. Honorable Chairperson, thank you for also having put through the foundation, as well as the clear articulation of the objective of today's meeting, so that we know what exactly we have to respond to. From our side, as the Office of the AG, we deem this as a continuation of the session we also had BC, which is before Corona, in March, when we briefed this particular committee on the outcomes of the portfolio